This is the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm Andrew Savage.
I'm Nancy Richards, and today we have a very special guest running for the 11th district.
Mike
He-
DeCillis. Mike
Yes.
Hello.
DeCillis, the only Democratic candidate, the only active Democratic candidate on the primary ballot this cycle. Welcome to the show, Mike. Welcome back, I
Thank
should
you.
say.
Thank you, Andrew and Nancy, for having me back.
And so, the last time you were on this podcast, it was about April. It seemed like a very different campaign than what is happening right now. So I'm going to do the best I can to summarize events. And then at the end, just tell me if I got anything inaccurate.
Sure.
So in April, when you were on the podcast, you had a primary opponent, Allison Ziogas. She was endorsed by the Democratic County Committee of Richmond County here in Staten Island. And it seemed like it was an active campaign. I went to both campaigns openings. Both campaigns seemed like they were really serious. And then petitioning happens. You both get your signatures to make it to the ballot. And then she drops out
Yeah.
at the end of April. She drops out. She not only does she drop out, but her campaign was in the middle of challenging signatures for your campaign to get on the ballot.
Correct.
And not on, and so she drops out in the middle of a challenge to your signatures. And so there's the potential then, and for a day or so, you were kicked off the ballot
Yes.
because of these because of these signature challenges.
Yes.
And so that really, I remember just being absolutely just furious about that, because in a year where Democrats are supposed to do really, really well, we are left
Yeah.
without a candidate
Yeah.
in this case. And then, you file a court challenge a day or so later to restore your name to the ballot and to validate the signatures that were challenged. And then what infuriated me even more, and I told you this the other night, was that Nicole Malliotakis and her lawyers joined the challenge
Yeah.
to keep you off the ballot.
Yeah, that
And
was
that pissed me off royal. And because, the reason why it pissed me off is because there's a sense, and I think especially among a lot of your core supporters, that, there was some kind of collusion with the party and potentially with Nicole. And when you have a court filing that has Democrats and Nicole Malliotakis trying to get one candidate off the ballot,
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane to me. And, ultimately the judge ruled, Nicole didn't have any standing, and you were restored to the ballot, thankfully. And so did I get any of that wrong?
No, I mean, we just the court case, we had an ongoing case. So we had already had a court date set and knew that we were going to court after the BOE had bounced us for that day. So we were laying low and waiting for the court to make its final decision on this in this case. I want to say that I think that it was very, very telling that Nicole Malliotakis sent her attorneys into that hearing in the last 10 minutes before I was restored. In that, I think it shows that she recognizes that I'm a threat, that I am a threat to her seat, and that there is a genuine chance that I can flip this. Otherwise, she wouldn't care. Otherwise, she'd let me run as any Democrat would, and she could not draw any more attention to me than she would need to. And she did the opposite, had a little Streisand effect going on. So aside from that, we were confident from the beginning that our signatures were good. And it was frustrating to, we're in a ghost primary right now because, yes, Allison Ziogas to drop out, but she dropped out too late to be removed from the ballot. And even though her attorneys did request from the Board of Elections that she was removed, they did not remove her. So I'm fighting both a ghost primary, and at the same time I was fighting a ghost challenge because she had already dropped out, and yet I was still continuing with all the petition challenges. So it was literally a challenging month, but we were confident. We came out of that, and excuse me. And so here we are running our ghost primary.
I was just surprised, honestly, that she was kept on the ballot after dropping out. I mean, I know there's paperwork, there's deadlines, there's all those kinds of things, but it was a big deal when she dropped out.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised that she was kept there, and I'm surprised that there wasn't or hasn't been really an effort to consolidate the party around your candidacy, at least not yet. And so, and there's been some acrimony online. We did a very controversial episode a few weeks ago that kind of spilled a lot of the tea on this. But
So,
so, uh, what do you say to Democratic voters and to people who are looking for, a united party going into the fall with
yeah.
behind your candidacy?
What I'm saying is we're going to flip the district. We're focused on that. I am focused less on, like you said, the online acrimony or any of the issues that are coming up, because I think that, first of all, I want to be very clear. I've met with the executive committee. I met with the Democrats after that and discussed the fact that, look, we're all going to the same place. Let's all get in the same car. I welcome anybody to assist in this effort. This is larger than us. We have a job to do. We have a very serious and solemn job ahead of us in flipping the district.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not.
like the most important thing.
Yeah,
I mean, when you think about it, your job, you're fighting for a congressional seat. And right now, Congress, the Democrats are in the minority. So the only way we're going to be able to put forth any of these policies that we support is if we have some sort of power. And the only way we're going to get power is if we flip the district. So
every seat
exactly,
matters, and this one is absolutely flippable and winnable. All
yeah.
the demographics say so. All the evidence on the ground says so. We have the numbers. We literally have the numbers, and we're doing a superior job of making sure that this time we're engaging a lot of the communities that have sat out multiple election cycles, that we're unifying them, and that we're making sure that we're doing an actual national level competitive effort to take this seat back.
So let me ask you, so how is campaigning going? Because you have a primary right now, and I know like all your ads are talking about, remember, you need to go, if you're a Democrat, to
It's
go vote in the
information.
primary, vote for me.
99% of what we're doing is literally informational, because yes, we have an asterisk, we have a ghost primary, and we've been kind of at a disadvantage because I don't have a competitive primary. We have a lot of competitive primaries in the city that have been getting all of the attention, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, New York 12 and New York 10, or New York 7. These are all 14. These are really, like, everybody's paying attention. But I don't have one. So a lot of those forums we're being left out of. But at the same time, because I don't have the benefit of being the nominee, I'm not getting the attention that I would be in that route. So I'm kind of right in the middle right now, waiting for the primary to go and making sure that, especially in a low turnout cycle where we don't have a lot of competitive races on the ballot on both sides of Brooklyn and Staten Island, that we're turning people out. So most of my outreach and all of the canvassing and phone calls and texts and visibility has been really geared towards making sure that people vote, and that they actually understand why they need to vote for me still need to vote for me. Because there are a lot of people who either casually paid attention and they think, oh, well, if she dropped out, he's got it. But no, I actually still need people to come out and turn out for the primary, so that we do have a challenger in the fall.
So right now, I think you're saying is that what you need is you need some sort of media to push getting registered Democrats out to the primary to vote for you. And then once the primary is over, your focus then is going to switch more into why we need to get rid of Nicole. And
Yeah.
and I hear that I hear the reasons why we know why we need to get rid of Nicole, but
Yeah.
but for right now, it's go out, vote. This is the
Yeah.
reason why, and then the campaign will go into full
Yeah.
on.
It's procedural. I mean, we're still focused on making sure we're raising the issues and talking about the issues in public that we need to, because we have to compare and contrast, and that's how we get a lot of people out. It's not just saying, "Oh, I'm a Democrat, go vote for me." I'm trying to give you a reason, because people need to be in. We don't want to drag them out and be like, "Okay, I'm a Democrat, I guess I have to go vote." We want to say, "I want to go vote." And this is
Right.
why I affirmatively want to also tell my friends about this, because it's important, because these issues are being raised, because this is the kind of candidacy that's being mounted. So it's genuinely important. But yeah, we're going to be switching gears after the primary, and obviously focusing on the fall and making sure that we continue building that that coalition that's going to lead us into some type of electoral victory.
And
So how to go? I was going to just ask about today
Right.
with at the ferry.
Mhm.
You were down at the ferry meeting all the people going to the
Yep.
parade. So how did it go?
It went great. Not only was it great visibility, but I'm noticing. I mean, if we're basing this on a vibe check, its vibe is good. A lot of people came up to me who had already voted for me. They're
Oh,
very
great.
aware of the campaign. They know everywhere I go, all my high visibility when I'm going to different locations, when I'm going to events. I'm not wandering in as an unknown. People are aware of the race. There are a lot of people that have voted in this that are telling their friends. They're very receptive to this. One of the things I've noticed this entire campaign is that unlike other times in the past, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when I was out in the field doing canvassing and doing work, you can be unapologetically Democratic and walk around and be like that and not and find other like-minded people. I think people were looking for not cover, but they just weren't used to being public about their Democratic support. And I'm finding now that I'm seeing a lot more public support of us as Democrats and towards what we're trying to do.
Well, I
Great.
have a question, and I promise this is the last ghost primary-ish question.
Sure.
The information that your campaign is putting out on social media and elsewhere about, just the asterisk that you have to put there, is that breaking through? Do people know, or is there still some confusion?
I think that with like triple prime voters and stuff, yes, they get it. They understand. What we're seeing is there are a lot of people that are very frustrated with the process, that we have to go through this process. For me, this is something just we have to do. When I originally launched, an hour later they declared my district unconstitutional. I didn't even have a district to run in. And then 3 weeks later, we started petitioning, and then they said it was constitutional, and then my petitions were challenged. The petition was done. I'm done challenging. Now I'm facing a ghost primary. So at every single step, and it's been 3 months, but it feels like 14 years. There has been something that we've had to overcome, something we've had to get through, and we've done it because we recognize that, yes, there is an endpoint to this. And while all of this stuff is going on, we're still doing all the work of a campaign. We're still reaching out and building that grassroots support. We're expanding our voter base. We're making sure voters are registered. We're making sure they're informed. So we are doing two things at once, and we can do more than two things at once. Has it been frustrating? Sure. But at the same time, I think that it's been
frustrating for me to watch.
Yeah.
This is so like, oh my God.
We're doing what we can. I think we've done an amazing job. I think the team that I've had and the volunteers have done an amazing job of doing that kind of outreach that does both, that both educates, informs, and making sure that it does kind of sink into the general consciousness that, yeah, we have this unique situation, but we're handling it. I think that we're going to see good results on Tuesday.
Can you tell us who your team is? Who is who's helping you, like who the campaign manager and?
Well, Nidhi Khanna is my campaign manager, and I've worked with her for many years. She's a former federal PAC director, and she's also an Obama alum. So she has a lot of federal experience as well as local and state electoral experience, and has been the chief organizer of how we do things. Beyond that, I have a large team of volunteers. I'm not going to get into all of them because some of them work in different areas, but and a lot of them are, but all of them are pulled from the district, from both sides of the district, and in communities specifically that have been frankly ignored. And so we're trying to make sure that we're getting the talent that exists in the district to work with us, to work in their own neighborhoods, because they know best what their neighborhoods need, what their communities need specifically, and how we can also not just kind of bring people out of these individual silos, these different communities, the Asian community, Liberian community, Northside community, Muslim community, but that we're also having them communicate with each other, so that we're not just pulling everybody into one thing, that we're making sure that we're all aware of each other and that we're actually building this as one kind of unit as opposed to a bunch of individual groups that we're trying to inform. It's challenging, but we have an excellent team, and it'll grow. It'll grow after the primary as well, once we start hiring out.
Okay, and well, I just have some questions about like the issues in the campaign. So a few months back, Nicole Malliotakis was walking through Statuary Hall, and a reporter asked her, should Ghislaine Maxwell, the madam of Jeffrey Epstein, a co-abuser, I should add, convicted sex offender, should she receive any form of clemency? And Nicole Malliotakis demurred and went and said she had to go to the physician's office. I guess she had to go and find her spine because, that's missing. And so have the voters in the district told you, have they voiced any frustration about their lives getting materially worse while people like Nicole protect the Epstein class? They empower Donald Trump to make whimsical decisions about going to war, sending troops or not, all on the backs of our gas
Gas
prices
prices.
and other things that are making life just unaffordable for people.
Yeah, well, you've attached. There's people who are very specifically angry about the Epstein files, as well they should be. This should be, if this were the only issue, this should be enough to sink the entire presidency and everybody who's associated with it, but it's not. And they recognize the fact that people like Nicole Malliotakis enable this behavior, protect this behavior, demur, don't comment, and doesn't even offer any type of support for the literal thousands of victims of the sex trafficking, and doesn't ask any questions. Is not curious at all, and wants to. And she just the other day was posting pictures of her and Trump for wishing him a happy birthday. It's disgusting. There's no excuse for it, and I think voters recognize that. The other thing I notice from being out, not just recently in running, but just from my life in this district, as I have been here and been as involved as I have, is that people are suffering. People are genuinely suffering. They are struggling. A lot of us aren't living; we're surviving. There are a lot of people who are just like one car repair away from having to dip into their 401k. They're wondering how their kids are. They're navigating the public education system for their children, both for neurotypical and also special education. They're dealing with commuting problems. They're having problems getting around with the buses. They're late for things. It's expensive because they have to travel and they've got to commute. They're trying to find rent. And they're trying to find an apartment that actually fits their family or even try to afford a house. And for a lot of the younger generations, we've been engaging a lot of the young Democrats and high schoolers who have been very involved in our campaign. And that's some of the number one issues they have is they don't even think they're ever going to be able to afford a house, or a lot of the things that maybe an older generation might have taken for granted that at least should happen, even if it didn't happen for them. So people are more than frustrated. They recognize they deserve more. They deserve better than what we've had. And that just goes federally. When it comes to our local representation, I think the bar has been lowered so much, we're just tripping over it at this point. We have not had somebody who's really advocated for us in Congress for as long as I can remember, who has brought meaningful resources back, who has introduced, meaningful policy and legislation that's transformative and doesn't just kind of like patchwork things and give a little bit of money so that you kind of sort of satisfied that some of these groups get something. We really need to start imagining differently what's possible federally, and have enough people in Congress who do have a spine, who can actually work with other people to get this kind of stuff done.
I was just going to ask as well, like, what do you feel is an issue that as a Democrat really should the Democrats should focus on in the new Congress, when you go to Congress?
Yeah,
like,
I think
what's an issue we should take on?
Well, the biggest issue I know people are discussing right now is affordability. And affordability is a huge umbrella because it involves absolutely every single thing we touch on any given basis. It's the house you live in, whatever housing you're in right then. It's the car or the means of transportation you use to get to work. It's the job and how much you're not earning or earning from that job, how much you're able to save, the health insurance that you either have or don't have, all the different government systems that you're navigating with. But before we can get to that, a lot of it has to do with the functionality of our government. What I do hear from a majority of people is that they recognize that our democracy is in danger, and not just our democracy, but the actual functioning and the administration of our government services. And they see that until that some equilibrium is restored constitutionally, that Congress is actually staying in his lane and is able to function, draft good policy, write good legislation that moves on to the executive, and the executive is not overreaching and taking over the legislative responsibilities. Until we can actually put some, enforceable guardrails in there, enforceable guardrails. We've been using customs and norms for so long that once we had an idiot who just basically said, oh, I'm just going to do what I want, there's no way to stop him.
Yeah.
Until we get that, we're not going to be able to actually get most of the policy and the legislation that we want done. Because right now we have a president who, if you pass a bill, let's say in arguendo, you actually do pass something functional, he could just say, you know what, I'm just not going to fund this, which is what he's been doing. I'm just going to strip funding from this state. I'm going to take it from this program. I'm not going to fund this. These bills are laws.
impoundment.
Executive does not have the ability to just say, I don't want to give this money. He's required to by law, but he hasn't been. So until we can start restoring the funding that we actually do have to many of the different organizations and groups, I think our immediate need is to triage and stop the bleeding.
Well, I'm thinking of right now with Social Security. I'm hearing language from the Republican Party where they're starting to call Social Security entitlements, as opposed to, these are, and I'm someone who this month actually applied for Social Security. I began collecting, and one of the main reasons I started collecting early is I'm deeply afraid that the money that I've put into since I was, 15 years old working, I'm not going to receive and I've paid these taxes. We've all paid these taxes. So I'm starting to hear language that I certainly don't hear Nicole, opposing, where the speaker is now calling these entitlements. They're not entitlements. They're things we paid into this. So, I'm just thinking in regards to just pure language that needs to shift once the Democrats take power.
Yeah, we need to recognize that a lot of the programs we have are programs that not only do they work and we deserve these, but they need to be expanded. We need to. I'm a big proponent of FDR Democrat policies. I mean, most of them came from the New Deal era. And a lot of them were being attacked. But I remember that even Ronald Reagan was talking about the funding for Social Security and how it isn't affected by the general budget, and it is separate, and the money is raised and it's administered separately. And there are some, frankly, easy fixes, it sounds like it's nuts, but I mean, if you just raise the cap on Social Security, you can fund it for an additional 80 years with one piece of legislation. As opposed to now where we're facing by 2030, 33, that they're going to be a percentage reduction in the amount they're going to be able to provide. It's nonsense. And this is look, these used to be third rails of politics. You didn't touch Social Security. You didn't touch people's Medicaid and Medicare. And now it's a free for all. And they're literally saying we need to reduce this, or it's an entitlement, or you don't deserve it, or these people are, because that's basically what we've been doing. Trump has perfected it, but that's what the Republicans have been doing for the past 50 years, is dividing us into levels of who deserves what, who's most deserving, right? Who is a real American, who's been here longer and is therefore, who works in a certain job that's maybe not the right job, so then you shouldn't get those benefits, right? And so, or we don't want union workers because unions, they complain too much, and we want people to be at will. And so they've really done a great job of dividing the entire nation, into multiple different strata, and then kind of assigning levels of worthiness to that, and then telling their base that they're all up here, because where they are is in a kind of this white Christian nationalist layer, and then there's the rest of us who actually do most of the working and the earning and the tax paying in the country, who are going to be suffering the most. But usually it's the most vulnerable. And that's who they go after first, because they know that these people usually don't have the strongest voices in government protecting them. And so we really need to be mindful, not just of the language, but of our culture as Americans when we're looking at America as a whole, that we recognize that America is not a people, it's an idea. Because what they want to do is say it's these people who are here the longest, who are the originalists, and they're the ones that founded it. And they're the ones that actually have the final say on things. And that is just not true. That is not what our country was founded on. It's founded on an idea and a principle that, unfortunately, as we achieve our 250th anniversary, we're going to be having those look back discussions as how we've been as a nation. I see flags flying that talk about 250 years of freedom. And you really have to say, okay, 250 years of freedom, but for who?
Yeah.
At what point did people achieve that modicum of freedom? We didn't have universal suffrage for the first 190 years of our country's existence. And so, yes, we need to have these discussions, and we can't just get in. The next Congress cannot get in and just say, okay, we're going to pass some bills back to, we have some degree of normalcy, we're going back. No, there needs to be a fundamental discussion about the culture of Congress, about the nature of our laws, about the nature of our guardrails and our democracy, and what we hope to achieve if we're actually going to go for another 250 years as a single nation, as a nation that is unified. How are we going to do that? So these are going to be hard discussions. They're not going to be easy. There are going to be people who want to fall back on typical political answers or try to just, not take a hard stance one way or another. But this is precisely the time where we need to actually have very strong stances, have strong moral compasses, have a strong sense of democracy, and recognize that you can't compromise with people who do not view all human beings as equal.
Absolutely. Well, I also have a question, just actually it segues perfectly. Since the last time you were on the show, the Supreme Court gutted what remained of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Yeah. And southern states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Florida, they've moved with breakneck speed to gerrymander and to draw out Black majority districts in the South. And so I think, Nicole Maliotakis and Republicans could have all prevented that in 2021 when she voted against a national ban on gerrymandering. So if you were to go to Congress, would you co-sponsor that legislation? Would you maybe put forward one of your own that had stronger protections? Would you?
Yeah, I mean, what we need to do is we need to legislatively pass those acts again and put those protections in place. When John Roberts is a son of a bitch, let's start here. When he was an attorney in the DOJ back in the Reagan era, it was his personal mission to literally go after the Voting Rights Act. That's what he actually did under Reagan. And then when he became Chief Justice, the first thing they did was take away Section 5, which is the pre-clearance, right? So the states that have had a history of egregious violations and racial gerrymandering and putting up poll taxes and literacy tests and things like that, anytime they wanted to change something significant, they had to get pre-clearance first. So that was taken out. And in the opinion, he said, well, we're no longer that nation anymore. But the minute they took that out.
Yeah, that's line from that decision. That was Shelby County v. Holder. The best line from that decision was from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Justice Ginsburg, when she said, taking away pre-clearance because it's working is like putting your umbrella away during a storm. And complaining that you're wet. And so
exactly. And the first thing all of the states that were required to do for pre-clearance, every single one of them pushed legislation quickly that didn't require pre-clearance, that made it more difficult for minorities to vote in those states. And then with this, the gutting of the VRA, which essentially took it away, the Section 2, that was it. And now you see an absolute free-for-all where they are openly gerrymandering based on race to exclude Black populations and remove Black representatives who are representing their own constituents right now and split up their districts. There is no excuse for it. It is absolute 100% white nationalism in place. And we can't survive as a functioning democracy if we allow that to continue. So no, when we get to Congress, we can't, not only do we need to reinstitute some type of anti-gerrymandering legislation that makes sure that in general, we're not making districts, to fit the person, but that we're just having districts that, are good cross-representation of those areas. But we need to make sure that explicitly that we're taking away a lot of these laws that are allowing them to specifically that have racist and racial intent, because this is 2026, and we are at our 250th anniversary of our nation, and I think that if we are to even try to uphold some of our original intent ideas of freedom for all, then we should have equal access to the ballot and a freedom to choose your representative that represents you both best, I should say.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is Nicole Maliotakis, only speaks when gerrymandering, was not, benefiting her when there was the issue in regards to how this district was going to look and where the lines were going to be drawn. All of a sudden, gerrymandering is bad, but when it's happening across, the country,
we had Vicki Goodwin, the Texas state representative, on this podcast last summer, and she was hiding in a hotel room because they were trying to deprive the GOP of the necessary quorum, so they couldn't rig their map. Ultimately, they were unsuccessful. But Nicole Maliotakis complains about democracy and gerrymandering when it looks like she's going to get screwed. But
I don't think Nicole has. I genuinely, at this point, don't believe she's read the Constitution. And if she had, she doesn't understand it. And more than that, I don't think that she understands what her job is in Congress and what her role is, and what both as a legislator and as somebody who is supposed to uphold the Constitution.
Nicole understands her job. she understands that it's her job, that she wants to stay there. So
Oh, yeah.
that's the only thing that she cares about. And she believes that by supporting MAGA, the MAGA part of this party, that's going to keep her there. And I think
Yeah.
that's why she's been silent. But I'm really hoping her Republican, non-MAGAs are going to pay her a little price and
Well,
say sorry.
anecdotally, my evidence on the street is that she will be paying a price.
Good,
I have Republican support. I have people who voted for Trump 3 times who are supporting me
good.
for a variety of different reasons. But I think that, look, I mean, she's hitched her wagon really. I mean, she's all in on Trump. She's whatever he says, whatever he does, she's behind it at a time when he is the least popular that he's ever been. I mean, which is, if I was advising her, I'd be like,
Yeah,
back off
no,
slightly. But nope, she's all in. And so you're looking at in the district as well. I mean, and functionally, look at our district. It's 41% Democrat, it's 27% Republican, 26% Independent, right? So there's already only about a third, in fact, a quarter. They're actually going to be that Republican voter base, and the rest are up for grabs. This isn't about conversion this cycle. It's about pulling out the Democrats that have been sitting out, the independents in the middle. And, if Republicans are, I think what's going to happen, you're going to see a suppressed Republican vote. They're not going to come and support the Democrat, but they're not going to be enthusiastic either about policies that are literally damaging them and forcing them either out of their home, forcing them to, dip into their 401ks to pay for medical treatments, making their VA waits longer, everything that's been happening. We're all feeling it. And it's going to get worse when a lot of these policies actually kick in even later in the year and the beginning of next year. So there are a lot of angry people who recognize that we're completely off the rails at this point, who are mad right now. If you look at what happened in Iran and the deal that was supposedly just signed, that's worse than what we already had in place and pays them even more than Obama
Well,
did.
we're finally getting some Republicans to criticize him on what's going on. Finally.
But when they do that, though, they usually do it for me a little bit. And these are the ones that sometimes have been already, they're not running again. Or so I like
that
No,
can
actually,
be-
I
It's
think
the
Ted
YOLO.
Cruz,
It's the YOLO caucus. It's the YOLO caucus. Tillis, Cornyn, Cassidy. Those are the people who are usually the most vocal. But on the issue of Iran, not only are we giving $300 billion to clean up a mess that Donald Trump created, and they may end up charging tolls at the Strait of Hormuz when they never had before.
Days of no tolls, and then they get to decide with Oman whether or not they want to manage the strait.
Absolutely. Would you, if you were to go to Congress, would you commit to a war powers resolution that would reassert Congress's authority over matters of war and peace?
Absolutely. I mean, the president does have to have the authority to respond to, immediate threats. That was sort of the reason and the authorization for use of military force in the beginning. That was the idea of it. It's turned into something that's ridiculous. And it was misused by both Republicans and Democrats. I'm not going to let anybody get off the hook for abusing the power of going to war, drone warfare, everything that was going on in Afghanistan and Iraq. But this was a total abdication of constitutional authority. It was openly just horribly illegal. And we have a literal rogue president just using our military, the largest military in the world, to do what he wants, essentially. And nobody can stop him. And the 60-day, even with that, it was illegal to begin with. But let's say that he responded. He ignored the 60-day congressional oversight as well. So we're just rolling along here. 13 American service members died. Dozens have been wounded, some severely. Thousands of civilians have died. We bombed a girls' school. We destroyed infrastructure and possibly committed war crimes by destroying water plants and other necessary civilian infrastructure on purpose. And in the end, that we're going to get a deal that actually allows them to keep missiles, ballistic missiles, as they said, possibly even use uranium, not for nuclear enrichment, but for power.
Right? And also to make money. They're currently, I believe they can sell oil under the deal right now.
Be able to sell oil under the deal, and they're also going to be eligible for another $100 million through through that kind of a trade. So they're going to be getting a total of about $400+ billion.
So really, the Iranians win in this deal for.
We've lost this war. We have lost this war.
But here's the thing that's dangerous, and it changes. Look at like China and Taiwan and other situations that could possibly come up. Trump gets bored when he doesn't get what he wants, and something doesn't go his way and it drags on too long, he gets bored.
Yeah.
Iran waited it out. They realized if they created enough economic damage and they literally just held out long enough that he was going to capitulate, which is what he did badly. This is going to tell our
Absolutely.
enemies and our foes, all you need to do is create some economic damage, hold out long enough, and the big guy is going to get bored and he's just going to try to move on and close it, even if it's not advantageous to us. But this has severe security implications, national security implications for us domestically and internationally in a lot of different areas. I know that they're eyeballing Taiwan. You know that Russia is looking at this as well and recognizing that, if we just hold out long enough, we can get what we want in the end and possibly even come out ahead.
Well,
Yes.
I don't think we have any moral authority as it relates to China and Taiwan or Russia and Ukraine, because a few months ago he was looking to get Greenland. He's openly musing about Cuba,
Yep.
and causing severe humanitarian and economic damage there,
Yeah.
in the process. And so, that's, those are things that we have to watch. But as far as just Republicans not living up to the promises of making people's material needs better. I talk about all the time on this podcast that I'm spending $80 for gas, 80. And and what are people telling you just kind of about, do they make the connection between these policies and their material needs not getting better? Because oftentimes I feel like there's a disconnect.
There used to be, I think, a more of a cloudy disconnect when it came to like how federal policy affected you personally in your own kind of life. But I think that the connections here are so clear that people, they get it, they understand it, and they're angry about it. And when you're hitting people, especially immediately, because there are a lot of things that there have been rising costs. There's been an increase in privatization in certain agencies and things like that have created kind of that frog in a boiling pot of water thing where it's like, yeah, it's been getting worse, but people haven't really recognized the sudden change. Whereas this war really did bring in some real pain really quickly, and it was this direct response. And it's not just in gas price, because it's the cost of everything. Because when the price of gas goes up, the price to transport any goods goes up. The price of your plane ticket went up. They started canceling multiple flights internationally. Hundreds of flights have been canceled from different carriers because of the price of gas, because they're taking out these routes, and that's only going to get worse. They always talk about the fact that gas prices will shoot up quickly and they come down very slowly. That's a very normal trend that has happened. So we're not going to see, even with a deal in place, even if they start selling oil and that the straits do open, we're not going to see relief in gas prices for months. And especially the people who have benefited from this, oil companies.
Yeah.
On American oil companies have made more profit this year than they have made at any other point in their history. So they're benefiting from this, and other places that have raised prices accordingly are not going to want to lower those prices again. That includes prices for tariff goods and for everything else. Once a corporation realizes they can charge a higher price and maintain that price, they're going to keep that price.
Food shopping is just ridiculous. And for what I spend normally, at ShopRite, which is, I consider the cheap supermarket,
Right.
and
Yeah.
now I find myself going to Aldi's a little bit more because that's even cheaper. But I'm spending a ridiculous amount of money per month on groceries for myself, and I'm like, really? Is that how much it is? And now I'm starting to accept it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right too. So. Uh, and it's not just prices of eggs, it's like in general about how much it is in total.
Yeah.
And groceries are really high. My utility bills, when you're dipping into their 401s, I did last month. I wasn't making it, and I had to dip in a little bit, not like tremendous, but I had to dip in a little bit just to make ends meet for the month. And credit cards, it's 23% for a credit card. People are in a tremendous amount of debt.
You didn't listen though, Nancy. One of his Treasury Department officials says that it's really good that people are spending more money on credit cards. That means things are great.
Yeah. Oh, they want
Yeah.
that. In fact, they're also looking to try to find out whether or not healthcare companies could start issuing loans to people so they could pay their medical debt. So basically, they want people to just remain in debt Yeah.
But there is something, it's called credit care. Like I had to have an implant. Like I had to put it on a credit card. So
Yeah.
to me that it's already happening because there is a credit company called Credit Care where it's a
Yeah.
charge card on, on medical procedures.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's insane.
GoFundMe is our nation's largest healthcare insurer, you know?
If I'm going to go into debt, I want a nice pocketbook. I don't want to have to fix my teeth, though I do have to fix my teeth. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, I have a cavity,
Exactly.
So
People
that's
are
like,
using credit cards. Yeah, increasingly, not only are they maxing their credit cards, but they're using it for their utilities. They're using it for, like you said,
yeah.
for medical cares, for things that you typically didn't. And then, of course, when they get maxed, now you have both that, the high interest for that, and you still have to pay the original utility bill or anything else. So no, it compounds, it damages, and it sets people back sometimes permanently.
All right, yeah. So, well, I want to do something a little light right
Mhm.
now. I want to do a little lightning round of just little things, one word answers. First off, favorite New York sports team.
Well, it's got to be Knicks now, but it was Yankees. Yankees are my team.
Okay, but so then who's your favorite Nick?
Hmm? Brunson, of course, New York 11.
There you go. All right, we needed to say that. Okay. Favorite Staten Island park.
Park.
Well, actually, favorite district park. So, because
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
expand it to Brooklyn
I
too.
was going to say, I mean, like Snug Harbor is my favorite place to go, and I know that it's not considered a park. So if you want to go park, I'd say probably Clove Lakes.
okay. But I could say Snug Harbor. You could use that
Mhm.
a park. Favorite Staten Island restaurant. You can have more than one, but what comes to mind?
Amor Mi Peru on Forest for Peruvian
Okay.
food. The place
All
rocks.
right.
And, I would say Briosco on Newdorp for my Italian.
Okay. Speaking of food, favorite pizza parlor.
I'll go on Brooklyn side first. I'm going to go Pizza Wagon in Bay Ridge, and I'll say Danino's for Staten
I
Island.
was going to try Pizza Wagon.
Danino's,
Okay.
Pizza Wagon,
Danino's.
you
I
got
will
to
drive
come.
by Pizza Wagon on the way home. Okay. All right. Have you ever voted for a Republican?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right. We have. So
Yeah.
yeah, Otto. We voted for Otto.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, do you rent or own?
Rent.
Okay. Um, First place you would take someone in the district when showing them.
That's a good question. I would say if I'm on the Brooklyn side, I would take him to Third Avenue first to have a meal and walk around, and walk down to the park or to the shoreline, I should say. And on the Staten Island side, first place I would take him is Snug Harbor.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I love
Uh,
Snug Harbor.
Favorite Staten Island, Brooklyn movie or TV show?
Where it's set in, like the
Your
setting
district.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go for The Godfather. So um, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think about that a little bit more. I mean, there are a lot that have been filmed here, and I'd have to think about
So
that
what
one.
do you think of when you think of Staten Island movie or work
Oh,
or
I think of Godfather. Yeah, I think of that
Godfather?
immediately. Yeah.
Well, mine,
We
well, ours is Nancy and ours is Working Girl. We
Working
and
Girl.
we quote it all the time.
Yeah, we do it all the time. Favorite president?
Favorite president, FDR.
FDR. Okay. And dog or cat? Or need
Well, dog. I had both for most of my life, but right now I've got my two golden retrievers, so I'm go with dog.
All right. Very good. What's their names?
Anita and Brooklyn.
Okay. All right. So they
Yeah.
kind of cross district. All right. Good. And yep, that was my I got that yes, that was my lightning round questions. So
Awesome.
Andrew, you have any you want to add?
I don't do lightning round questions. I'm kind of a long-winded person, so
You have one
I
final
can't really.
long-winded question that we can go
Yeah,
on?
I think I've asked a few good long-winded questions, but
Well, is
um,
there anything you want to say that that
well,
we haven't asked?
I think we've just about covered everything, but I just definitely want to remind our listeners, early voting is happening this week. So we're filming and recording today. Today is the 18th, and early voting is
Sunday,
ended for,
right?
for today. It's going to go up until Sunday, actually. They don't do the Monday in between Sunday and Tuesday on election day, and primary day is on Tuesday. And definitely,
The
vote
3rd.
for Mike DeCillis, hopefully. after the primaries, this ghost primary is done, we can get our shit together because I am just so, you know,
And if you're a registered
yeah.
Democrat, please go out and go to the
Mhm.
primaries. And if you do not know where to go early vote, like I got my thing in the mail, I always keep it. Where can people go to find out where their early voting
We
poll is?
we have it on our website, DeCillisForCongress.com. You can go in there, enter your address. You can find out where it is.
Okay, very good. And we'll put that in the show notes.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll put that in our show notes. And so uh so where are you gonna hold your election night party, Mike?
Well, we're working out and finalizing the details, and we'll have that by a little bit later tonight, probably.
Oh, okay. Well, we were hoping to plug one of those Staten Island restaurants we were talking about there, but
Yep.
Well, wonderful. So with that, everyone who's a registered Democrat, don't forget the primaries this week and go out and exercise your voice. And everyone else, please listen to what Mike DeCillis has to say. We definitely need to flip this seat. And Mike's a guy who we should be voting for. He's definitely a person who can do this. So best of luck to you, Mike. We need someone good in Congress, and I think you're the guy. So good luck.
Appreciate that. And make sure you tell 400 of your closest friends.
I will.
we will. We will, and we've been saying it every week, and we've been we've been kind of crowing about, the dysfunction around all of this stuff that has happened over the last couple of months. And so hopefully we can just kind of move past all of that and kind of move on towards the common goal of defeating Paul Maliotakis
we're organized, and we're not just ready to go. We've been going. So, we're handling what's in front of us, and we're ready.
I like your ads. Your ads are good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good. So that's a good thing. I have to say, like, sometimes I listen to an ad, I'm like, oh, I just roll my eyes. And I really do like your ads coming out. So
thank you.
Who's ever making them, good job.
Try not to make people snooze.
Yes.
Because I know, especially in this season, man, you get your feed is full of people asking for money and asking for votes and talking about issues.
Nick came the other night. Nick came the other night was back to back ads for mostly for the CD12 race.
Yes.
So I noticed that. Well, thank you, Mike DeCillis, for being on the show, and good luck in your campaign. We're going to be here. We're going to be rooting for you, and we are hoping that we'll move forward past all of this, past the ghost primary. We're going to ghost bust, and then we'll go on to the general election.
Yes, we will.
Afraid of no ghost. Yeah.
I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Well, on that note, this is the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm Andrew Savage.
And I'm Nancy Richards. And we want to thank Mike DeCillis for coming on and wish him the best in this election.
Thank you both. Thank you so much.